Hi, I'm Sayojita. Today I'm going to make sambar for you. That spicy, tangy, vegetable-laden dal from South India that you will have often eaten with idlis, dosas and vadas. Hot steaming sambar also tastes delicious over a bowl of rice. All you need is dahi and some papad for the crunch. A sambar has been part of the supporting cast for many a video of mine. I have often showcased it as an accompaniment to the main dish, mostly dosas of various kinds. This time, sambar is playing the lead in my video. Today, I'm going to make sambar for you all the way from cooking the dal to chopping the vegetables and finally serving the dish. If you're a lover of South Indian food, I think it's important to know how to make sambar. I will have you know that like most Indian dishes, there is a version of sambar in every region and for that matter in every household. My sambar is basically typical of Karnataka. It's spicy, tangy, but also slightly sweet. Let's take a look. What I'm going to do today is I'm actually going to time it. Right now it's 10:40, mainly for you to get an idea of what's the most efficient way to sequence all the things we need to do to make sambar. I'm going to dive right in with the very first thing we need to do, which is to cook the dal. We'll take a quick glance at the ingredients. I've laid everything out here. And then we can get started with making the sambar. Here they all are. I'm not going to go into the detail now and spend time over it. But the first thing I'm going to do is start with this dal. I've used tur dal and we are going to set it to cook. Here's the dal. I'm going to cook it in the instant pot. The time is 10:41. I'm going to wash it and be right back. And I'm going to put some water. I mean, you can use a pressure cooker. I just find the instant pot easier because I don't really need to pay any attention to it, whether it's whistling or whatever. So I have started using the instant pot a lot more than I used to before. A little bit of water at the bottom of the cooker. I'm not going to cook sambar in this. I'm going to, in parallel, I'm going to start making my sambar now while this gets pressure cooked. I like to make the dal nice and soft and we don't need to keep it warm. That's it, 20 minutes. So it's going to take 20 minutes to cook and I'm going to let the pressure release naturally. And during this time, we are going to chop the vegetables and do all the other things that we can do. Let us just do the chopping. These are the coriander leaves. I'm going to soak this in water to wash it. For now, I'm going to start chopping the vegetables. The good thing about sambar is that in general, everything is chunky. It's much easier to do that than all this fine chopping. I've just taken one onion. Sambar is very difficult, at least for me, to make it in small quantities because we like to put a lot of vegetables in ours. So I've tried to not go overboard on those. I'm cutting the onions in chunky pieces. Now for the vegetables. The eggplants, I'm using the long purple ones. Cut them crosswise on a diagonal, about an inch thick. And then through the middle like so. Besides that, I'm using radish. You can use any number of vegetables like drumsticks, which is moringa, gourds, bottle gourd, ash gourd. You can use any different things. These are the ones that are most popular in my house and that's what we like. So I'm using these. They don't take long to cook. That's a good thing. So I don't need to pressure cook the vegetables. I've tried that and I don't like them. They get too mushy. If you pick some vegetable that takes a really long time to cook, then you may choose to pressure cook it with the dal. Great. So tomato will chop in a little bit. Just a little bit of oil. We're going to caramelize the onions. This is from my mother-in-law's recipe, and I do think it gives the sambar a wonderful flavor. That's the beep that the pressure has built up on the dal. Drop in the onions. The oil needs to get a little bit hotter. I'm going to cover this on medium-high heat and chop the tomato in the meanwhile. And the onions are nicely caramelized. I'm going to add the diced vegetables. As I mentioned earlier, these two have similar cooking times, so I can just add them both together. But if you are adding vegetables that have very different cooking times, add the ones that need longer first and then add the others. Toss them in the oil. And then the seasonings: turmeric, salt, Kashmiri chili powder, just a little bit. I'm going to use whole red chilies later, so I'm going easy right now. About 3/4 of a cup of water. We will definitely be adding more water later. Cover, bring to a boil and simmer until cooked. These will take about 5 to 7 minutes to get soft. The time is 4 minutes to 11. While the vegetables are cooking, they're off on the other burner over here. I'm going to make the fresh masala paste that I use in my sambar recipe. This is a 7-inch pan. The dal has been under pressure for 7 minutes, so about 13 minutes for the instant pot to turn off. And then we have to wait for the pressure to be released. A little bit of oil. Let it get nice and hot. First, we're going to add the items that take longer to cook. Chana dal and urad dal, followed by coriander seeds, methi or fenugreek seeds and cumin seeds. I'm going to lower the heat now and allow the dals and these spices to roast nicely. I'm getting the wonderful aroma of the tempered dals and spices. Now for some whole red chilies, the mild ones, Kashmiri or Badgi. You can also add chili powder, but these whole chilies give the sambar a beautiful red color. We do not want to roast them too much, just want them to warm up a little bit. The dals, on the other hand, must be well roasted. And the last ingredient is the grated fresh coconut. I've turned off the gas. I most certainly don't want to roast the coconut. I'm going to mix it and wait for it to cool, and then we'll go and grind it. Don't have to wait for too long because you can just grind it with some cold water. But we have time on our hands. The dal is not done yet. In the meanwhile, let's check on the vegetables. It's 2 minutes past 11, about 22 minutes since we started. And the vegetables have been cooking for about 6 minutes. They're not quite cooked yet, a few more minutes. So I'm going to add the tomatoes now. This is also a good time to add any other soft vegetables like ridge gourd, for example. Now we need the cooked dal before we can do much more. And there's still 8 minutes of pressure cooking and about then 10 minutes for the pressure to be released. So in these 20 minutes, we can do something else, like making chutney or just have a cup of tea. There are about 10 minutes before the cooked dal is available, but we can put in a few other things now. And that's the instant pot. It's done. But I'm not going to open it just yet. Let the pressure release naturally. Some more water. And the sambar powder. I do use a smaller amount of sambar powder to augment my fresh masala paste. I'm going to use my homemade one, but you can also use store-bought. Mine is a little mild. Usually store-bought is spicier, so you may want to adjust the quantity of chili accordingly. If you do not want to use fresh masala paste, you can just use a larger quantity of sambar powder, like 1.5 to 2 tablespoons, and a paste made with fresh coconut and water. And you will also need to add some more red chili powder than I have added. Now that the vegetables are cooked, we can add in the tamarind paste. If you add it earlier, then the vegetables will not cook, and the jaggery to balance the tamarind. Let's grind the fresh paste now. I've broken the red chilies just to make them easier to grind. They have kind of tough skins. Water, and let's see how the paste turns out. I think it needs to be much finer. I'm going to add some more water and process again. I added some more water in there, about 3/4 of a cup. The exact quantity really doesn't matter. As much as you need to make a fine paste is how much water you need to use. Let's check out the instant pot. There's still some pressure there. I'm going to put the paste in the sambar. Look at that glorious orange color. I've rinsed all the paste out of the mixie jar. Let it come to a boil now. Let's give it a little taste. The masala, though mostly roasted, is still kind of raw, especially the chilies and the coconut. So it needs to simmer for a little while. I'm going to add some salt and the tamarind paste. We may need some more, but I'm going to do that later after adding the dal. The dal, which we'll add shortly, is already cooked, so it will not need a lot of simmering. Since we have the time, it's better to get a head start on simmering all these other ingredients. Cover and let it simmer. Over to the dal. Okay, enough is enough. I'm going to vent this out because I have run out of patience. The time is now 11:23. Rest of my sambar has been waiting for this dal. So by now it should be rather obvious that cooking the dal ahead of time will definitely speed up the sambar making time by about 10 to 15 minutes or more. Let's take it out now. Unlike many other dal preparations, these cooked lentils must be smooth. We do not want to see the grains of dal in the finished sambar. The dal is cooked really well, so just a ladle is sufficient to mash it. We don't need any gadgets. This is good. Let's go put it in. The sambar is ready for dal now. Now we have to just let this whole thing simmer for a couple of minutes while we do the tadka, that is tempering of the other seasonings. We will need to water it down a bit. I'm also going to add a bit more sambar powder while I'm at it. And off to the back burner it goes. Now the tadka, or tempering the seasonings. The sambar is simmering here on a very low flame, and for this tadka I'm going to use ghee. The time is 11:30. I do love the taste of ghee in sambar. However, oil is perfectly fine if you want yours to be vegan. Half a tablespoon of solid ghee. Hing or asafoetida, good bit of it. I like to put in a little bit of the urad dal, 3/4 of a teaspoon of mustard seeds, half a teaspoon of cumin seeds, lots of curry leaves, a good handful, and some whole chilies which I'm going to pick. The key here is for the urad dal to be nicely brown and the mustard seeds to pop. By now, you should get the wonderful aroma of ghee mingled with hing and the curry leaves. We are ready to drop this tadka onto the sambar. Right here in the background, we can hear the mustard seeds popping and the sambar bubbling all at the same time. Perfect. That's what you want. Give it a good stir. The only thing I need to add now are the coriander leaves. As I mentioned earlier, having to pressure cook the dal while making the sambar has added almost 20 minutes to the whole process. Because here we had to wait for the pressure to release. Tur dal in general has to be pressure cooked. So there are two ways out of this. One is to cook the dal ahead of time. What I usually do is I just cook it in the morning if I know I'm making sambar, and then when I make the sambar, everything is on hand. And the other is to use, say, a softer dal that cooks faster like moong dal. It doesn't make an appreciable difference to the taste, if at all, and you don't need to pressure cook it. You can just set it to cook before we start even chopping the vegetables, and by the time we are done with all that, the dal will be ready. Our mouth-watering sambar is ready. I'm going to show you how you should taste it for the final time to get all the flavors right. If you taste it when it's boiling hot, you will most likely end up adding more salt or more tamarind because everything tastes a little flat when it's boiling. Take a little sambar out in a bowl, let it cool just a little bit, and then taste it. I'm just going to give the sambar a little taste so I can adjust all the seasonings. Usually it's salt and maybe the tamarind and the jaggery. And if you want it spicier, the chili powder. I don't think I need to be spicy. It's nice and red. And yeah, I think it can do with some tamarind and some jaggery and some salt. So I'm just going to add that and I'll be right back. Little salt, tamarind and jaggery. No chili powder, it's plenty spicy. Before I take this to the table, let's take a look at the consistency of the sambar. It should be quite loose and it will thicken as it cools down. So you may need to add some water before serving if you're serving after a little while. Drizzle with a little bit of ghee and the sambar is ready to go to the table. Okay, the sambar is at the table with some red rice, papad and the yogurt to just cool the palate a little bit. That's it. I hope you enjoyed it and found it useful. If so, please do share it with your friends and hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. I would love to give you more videos such as this. Next week, I will have the other half of this supporting cast, which is the chutneys, because for idli and dosa and many of the other South Indian vadas, chutney is a must. And I have an array of chutneys for you. Some of them are beautiful to look at. I've sneaked in a few vegetables in there. And I'm going to leave you with my instant fermented dosa video. I think the two go together well. I'll see you again soon. Until then, happy cooking and thank you for watching.